So this is the video on shade structures that I promised that would be on YouTube. So hopefully you popped over to see it. And I'll answer some questions as to why I'm so obsessed with shade structures when gardening, while most of the country is the opposite. You want to get a lot of sun for your garden spaces. But where we live, it's high heat and high UV and high winds. So those are the three things that I have found is a game changer if you're able to protect your plants from high wind, high heat, and high UV, especially when they're really young, when they're starting out, and particularly for food gardening. So, for example, my tomatoes, I always start with a shade structure for them. I always have bamboo, rolled bamboo across the top of their um, raised bed. And I will do another video about why I do so many raised beds as well, but today we'll talk about shade. So in April, we're in April now, and we're already hitting in the 80s. Of course, we do have the risk of freezing in the middle of May even, so it's a, you're taking a chance planting now, but I've also found that if I don't plant the tomatoes soon enough to start to set their fruit before we hit the mid 90s, the dogs always have something to say. Okay, I think they're done. Then the plant won't set fruit because it's too hot for them. It doesn't matter the shade, it's just going to be hot. So I try to plant Jack Jackson. That dove is not going to bother you. He thinks doves are dangerous. He's a very silly dog. Anyhow, the tomatoes won't set fruit once we've hit the 90s, so I want them to set fruit early and then be big and strong enough to go through the 90s, and then when those temps start to come down, set fruit again. That's my goal with that. But when I start them out, I always have the shade structure. About midway, when they start to get really tall, I take the shade structure off. My lemon balm, I have a little video up about that. I do have shade over them. They're in the middle of the garden where there's a lot of sun. And they're nice and strong later once they're big enough. Okay, Jack. They're just trouble today. Then I also have lavender in the area, and I love lavender, but it does need a little bit of shade. And same with the roses. They're gorgeous and they love spring because it's just the perfect temperature for them. But when we start hitting those high heat, they need some kind of shade. So I always try to put them somewhere where they're going to get a little bit of shade through the day from a tree or a wall. I made that mistake with one of my roses. It doesn't have much shade right now, but there is a tree growing, and I'm hoping it'll give it some shade this summer. The rosemary is an exception to the rule. They're pretty tough. Usually when I plant them, they're going to be fine out in the sun, and they do really well. So I think that's about it. That because we have high heat and high UV, we have to focus on our gardening a little bit differently. Same with my strawberries. They're in a shaded area. Melon, I don't have in a shaded area this year, so we're going to see if it does okay. It needs something to climb, so it has that. And then, of course, potted plants, those kind of things, they dry out really fast. So this year I'm going to try the crystals that hold water in the potted pots because I do love my pots. So we're going to see if that works. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed the little thing on shade and why we need shade where we're at. I have walled gardens, which are really nice because that does protect them from the wind. I have some trees in the front yard that when I planted them, I staked them, but they're bent over. They're doing the thing because the wind is just so strong and I couldn't keep them straight. And those are the challenges where I live. Now, where we live, Jack, we're kind of in the middle of New Mexico. We are on the west side of the big mountains. So we're lower elevation and higher heat. Jackson! I cannot do this in peace. But we are not nearly as hot as southern New Mexico. So I kind of have a good in between most of the time, but we just have to be cautious and cover up ourselves. Make sure everything's covered up so that we don't get damaged from the sun, which happens in New Mexico. We just do. We have to battle the sun and we battle the wind, and it's not always great for the skin. So take good care of yourself. All right, guys, that's it on shade. And next time I'll talk to you about why I do the raised beds and what makes that a good thing to do, even though it takes time to set them up and build their structure for them, because mine are a little different. All right, guys, be gentle with yourselves. There's only one you, and while you're at it, be gentle with everybody else too. Love you. Bye.